When you're homeless, it's really difficult to understand. You can't explain it very well. You lose everything. Not just physical things, but you lose your spirit and you lose hope. Everything that's inside of you is black. You have nowhere to... When everyone goes home after work and there's nobody on the street, there's nothing open, and you are still walking, and you have nowhere to put your little Marks bag down at, it's almost like you don't exist anymore. You know, the world forgets about you, and it's a very lonely, cold feeling to be homeless, to not have anywhere to go.
A short time ago, we got everybody together to kind of get a grasp of how big the problem really was, from churches to Salvation Army to other groups, and realized the problem was much larger in scope, I think, than any of us anticipated.
There's this preconceived notion that people that are homeless are bad people or they're dirty people, and I am the homeless person. You know, I'm the person next door, but I was homeless, and I wasn't always that way.
My wife and I have fostered in Medina County for 30 years, and one of the things that we have seen firsthand is the homeless problem. I cannot tell you how many kids have come into our home from their car.
I was actually a registered nurse, and my life was great. I mean, I made 80 grand, I had 2 kids, I was a single mom, but that was great. I mean, I had a big house, everything was good in my life. And I was a paramedic, I was a nurse, I had my kids. What could go wrong? And I got a kidney stone, and I was on a really, really strong pain medicine for like a week. And it was over. I literally went from having everything to having nothing, literally living behind a dumpster on a couch cushion.
It's easy for people in fortunate circumstances to say, well, they're all drunks or they're addicts or they're lazy or whatever. But when you really spend time getting to know homeless people, one of the first things that comes to your attention is they're like us. They're people that got a couple of bad breaks, that a woman that got divorced and then got sick, or somebody that lost a job because it was shipped overseas and then got a sick child. They find themselves behind on rent, and then all of a sudden their world comes crashing down around them.
Once you get in that spiral, you don't know how to get out alone.
These are not people that just showed up in Medina and have no connection here. And as a community leader, it's important to me that we take care of everybody.
It's a mom, it's a dad, it's kids. So I just ask people to understand that with this shelter, this is going a long way to keep that family unit together.
They're not able to focus on the education and to focus on making friends within their classroom because they're too hungry or they're too tired or they're too concerned about what their parents are struggling and going through.
They are us. And the sooner we come to grips with that fact, the sooner we can actually begin to work diligently on solving this problem.
I fully understand and have seen how important this shelter will be in Medina County because we have people living in cars today, every day, that need somewhere to go.
It's a critical element and need for the housing continuum. The rate of homelessness has significantly increased. Now that might not meet the federal definition of homelessness, but from how we approach it, from that underhoused or the individuals who don't know where they're sleeping tomorrow night, I definitely see an increase in that population.
Medina County is a great place to live, work, worship, and shop. It just is.
My fear as we continue to struggle economically, that is a population that potentially could be threatened with even greater homelessness than we're seeing today.
Homelessness is a little different in Medina County than it is in a lot of the world. And the western half of the county is largely rural, so homelessness in a rural community has yet a different face.
Currently, law enforcement, other than calling the Salvation Army or churches, spend a great deal of time trying to find some help for these folks. Whereas by having an emergency shelter, all of Medina County will then have access to bring these folks here near the services and not have officers off the road for extended periods of time trying to piece together some sort of remedy on a case-by-case basis.
Not only are we seeing more of it and maybe not sure of what resources are available to really make a difference in the area. And so again, the shelter becomes that foundation.
It provides a location for individuals who have substantial mental health needs as well as recovery. I mean, can anybody really think about the needs that they have if they don't have a roof over their head or if they're worried about where they're going to sleep at night?
A homeless shelter would give people a sense of normalcy, a place for mail to go, just the simplest things that everyone takes for granted. We don't have that when you're homeless. You know, how do you get a job when you have nowhere to take a shower? How do you get mail? How do you get anything? You don't. And it's like a vicious circle, every which way you look.
We are seeing significant, upwards of 30% increases in utility bills, in home maintenance bills, and starting to interact with an increasing population of our community who are unable to maintain the homes that they have today. What I find so interesting about it, the perfect location was right under our noses the whole time. It really is the center of our community. We are close to not only social service and Veterans Administration, we are also in close proximity to employment opportunities.
It's also strategically located on Walter Road, which is within walking distance of the Medina County Job and Family Services, the Veterans Office, and the Human Services Building at the corner of Huntington and Northland.
So with the emergency shelter then, and especially with the location, individuals will be housed there, and once they're in that house, they'll have the introduction sometimes for the first time, or the accessibility for behavioral health to help them work on them for that next step.
Also located within our transit. So you've got the ability for the buses to be able to provide public transit to those individuals that otherwise wouldn't be able to have transportation to those necessary, either a job or other medical services.
I think if we're coming away from anything from the idea of the shelter, it's that people in the know recognize the need, and the idea of working towards the root cause of the crises that people face is important.
For people as human beings to be able to have access not only to their jobs, to retail services, but also in this case, those that are homeless and meeting those challenges, they have access to the services, the entities, the individuals that can assist them.
I can tell you I've spoke with other business owners and business leaders in the community. We are all on the same page with regards to the need for a shelter in Medina County. They see it, I see it, they understand it, and not only do they see it and understand it, but are more than willing to support it at the same time. Because I can't work if I don't know where I'm going to sleep.
The county has been looking at this problem. We have a housing insecurity group that have been looking at this for probably close to 2 decades.
So this is an important time in Medina County's history where our various agencies, the nonprofits, the business community, and the local governments have come together to be able to fund the construction of a facility, but also to be able to operate it on into the future and provide as the door, if you will, for those families that face those circumstances.
While we do a phenomenal job of intervening in the immediate, getting people into hotels, that's not really accomplishing all that needs to happen.
It's simply an issue that we can't overlook any longer.
I want to see people be able to walk through the doors of the shelter and relax their shoulder, put down their things, take a breath, because they're not doing that when they're on the streets.